Yeah.
And my first one.
Sitting here. And it was really
Yeah, it's fun.
just time.
And the skiing. I'm excited for this.
But yeah, that is kind of out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
It's usually not quite as much focused on the fun.
Yeah. My daughter has a Crystal She is in school in Western Oregon. And she is a graduate student now. And she skis, she tries to go like 3 times a week, even if it's just for 2 hours.
Act the way that you want to.
Cool.
And so she's going to go with me.
Oh, nice.
Treat yourself.
Yeah.
That's great.
But I
Start off something like that, you're going to get
And I dress for it.
bad
Yeah.
reaction.
All of it. Because I don't like to be cold.
No, I figured out how to block on Facebook, and that made everything better.
I got my first phone call from yesterday or the day before. But
Okay, I have 5 o'clock, so we will go ahead and get started. And first up, we have the tree board interviews.
Good evening, Council. We have 2 more applicants for the tree board. They were previous tree board members last year and would love to be considered to be reappointed for this year. Their names are Wendy Weiner and Chris.
Is the mic, anyone else having a little trouble here?
I barely
I
hear
can
her.
speak up.
Okay, I don't,
They were appointees for the tree board last year, and they would like to be considered to be appointed again this year. And their names are Wendy Weiner and Chris Chestasky.
okay, great. And, obviously they did serve, and I think there was just, and they want to be back on, so, and they bring some good experience. So, any discussion on that? If not,
It looks like there's a minimum of 3 and that there's no top limit, so we can just appoint them.
yeah, yep.
Do you need a motion?
Which would
No, not tonight.
At the regular meeting.
No,
They don't.
we,
Oh, that's right, because this work session.
it will be on the council agenda.
There you go.
Yep, but before that comes up, I just want to see if anyone had any questions or comments or,
I just figured that we could add them, so thanks for confirming that.
okay, great, perfect. All right, moving right along, the wayfinding presentation.
A lot of this might, I was going to say it's going to be new to you. This is a project, the Wayfinding project is a project that was approved for 2023. And through a series, it was Drew was kind of the project lead. And I think as things progressed, it just kind of got put further and further down on the priority list. So I picked it up a few months ago, and we rolled it over into 2024. It's been a little bit slow going just because of a pretty slow start. But since then, we've gotten to a place where I think we have something that we can present to you and start getting some of your feedback. This is both an opportunity to update our existing wayfinding signs as well as our destination signs. And we see this as an opportunity to accomplish some of our goals for downtown pedestrian wayfinding. So with that, I'll get started, and so that we can get to questions from you guys. You scroll. Go for it. Keep going. So you've all seen this sign. All about town. Obviously, it's off-brand at this point. The logo is old. The colors are off. And since pretty much installation, the font was too small. And a lot of times people are having trouble reading it. And so that we're on the same page as far as language, we have primary signs, secondary signs, and tertiary signs. So the primary signs are like out on Highway 50, where you are traveling anywhere between 25 and 40 miles an hour, and they're designed to be seen from that distance, and they're pointing to destination centers throughout the town. So all of these destinations were determined in the original wayfinding project, like the steam plant and the shopping district, the creative district, the river corridor. There are a lot of details as far as the names of things. Like I believe at one point it had Marvin Park and Pump Track. So like a lot of things have changed over the years, and we'll make sure that it's all accurate. We don't need to go over that now, but the logic behind placement and directionality is based on the original project. This is really just some background. So the primary signs are Highway 50. Secondary signs are going to be signs that are just a little bit more ancillary than that, but you're still driving predominantly. And then tertiary signs, you are downtown, going slow, at a stop sign, or potentially even walking. So those are just, and then we have destination signs, which are the signs that say Marvin Park or Riverside Park. So we're gonna, with this project, we have an opportunity to update all of that. Go ahead, Aaron. So we reached out to the original production company as well as Oviair Industries here in Salida to start getting some design ideas for these new wayfinding signs. We talked about some of the problems, some possible cost savings, everything from just replacing the top part of the signs with an updated logo. Ultimately, we felt as staff that the design on the right, it was more serve the community better. They're easier to update. We can take down things as they change. We can replace things as we need to replace them. So you can see primary, secondary, tertiary, and then there are two different kind of tertiary, like a pedestrian tertiary design that's in there. So Aaron, you can go ahead and scroll. Well, I guess go back up if you would. I'll just show you some of the various designs. Like the top of the designs on the right those are different options that we went through. Ultimately, kind of coming to a combination of all of the options, we felt like it was what we ended up settling on. Okay, Aaron, thanks. So here's what we kind of settled on as far as design and height, dimensions. You can see that the primary signs, the ones out on the highway, do have the another board at the top, the City of Salida and the tag Heart of the Rockies. And then the other two signs just have the logo finial on top. Just a little more intimate as you get smaller. Go ahead, Aaron. Oviair did a great job when we asked for some in-place examples. They provided us both with the materials and a sample, but then they also placed them in a variety of locations for us to kind of see what it would look like. And this is an example of that. Obviously, the picture on the right is it compared to the existing sign. We wouldn't put it next to that sign. Go ahead, Aaron.
You can give them one of these?
Yeah.
It does show you how much more readable it is.
Right. Now we'll get in a little bit to the conversation that has been surrounding council for over a year now, and some downtown pedestrian wayfinding. We've heard requests for additional signage to encourage more traffic in different areas downtown. If I can be, besides just First Street, we're also talking other areas that I want to try to be as all-encompassing as possible. Originally, I know that there was a design, and if you scroll, Aaron, we have kind of the original design on the top left. That's a design that was thrown out as a possibility for the corners on F and First, and they have individual businesses called out. Unfortunately, it was off-brand, so we had Oviair bring that into the existing brand, and that's on the top right. And so you can see there an example of what on the top right set, on the left, individual businesses. The design on the right is a little bit more, is a little bit different of a design that we started coming around to, and we're here to kind of present to you tonight, is this kind of idea that we're promoting the entire downtown area, and we want to do it in such a way that it's easy to change. Businesses change locations often, and many people have already done this. The Visitors Bureau, the Chamber of Commerce, they have our businesses documented. There is a business whose model is reaching out to businesses and getting them on a map. So that's the map on the wall at YOLO, on the outside wall. And I never got a chance to go down and see the name of who's producing that. But one of our thoughts is that we could encourage people to access maps and access online resources to the shops in downtown Salida. So there's a QR code, you scan it on your phone, and you're guided to like a walking tour to kind of a directory on your phone, as opposed to right there downtown where things change sometimes monthly. So that design, that concept was then kind of redesigned with a different idea into more of a kiosk that was similar to the brand that we have at the bottom of F Street, the kiosk at the bottom of F Street, and the Life Jacket Loaner Station. So again, just trying to get things a little bit more cohesive in the downtown area. If you stand on the F Street Bridge, you can see, really, you wouldn't know whose property you're on. You can see, like, I think I counted 6 different agency signs, and none of them look the same. None of them have the same style. So we're trying to get things to be a little more cohesive. Yeah, it's a pretty standard mountain rustic brand, some rusty metal and some corrugated stuff. But we can get creative. You know, the yellow is just kind of thrown out there to catch your eye. It can also be offset in metal, cut, and go ahead, Aaron. We can scroll more. This is just kind of a closer, this is an existing map that we have for the downtown corridor that was made for the resource guide a couple years ago. This can of course be updated, but what this map does is it points out pergolas, bathrooms, our chairs that we put down there, public restrooms, picnic tables. It's kind of the more public amenities that we are responsible for, and that we feel like the visiting public, although none of them generate revenue necessarily in sales tax, those we think are amenities. We can also call this map, we could have every business kind of sign up, and you can scroll in or zoom into the business, and there's a lot of possibility with this idea. So go ahead and scroll, Aaron. There's some in-place design and concepts there. So the kiosk on the top kind of has the businesses pointing down first, and the one on the bottom is more of the kiosk with promoting the use of a digital map and a tour idea for downtown. Go ahead, Aaron. This is the locations. This is Ovier Industries behind me, so I'm consulted. That's why I consulted with them. So you can see some ideas of where we could place these, and there's just some considerations for you guys to have. So, or to some things for you guys to consider. I think are we done? Yeah. So with that, I know it was fast and furious. We've got lots of discussion tonight. So thoughts, questions, how can I help?
Would like to begin?
I'll start. I like the idea of the QR code, because that's the only way to keep up. It's the only way to make the signs reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I do like promoting the public facilities, as you named, on the map, rather than trying to name all the businesses. That would just be insane.
Sure, I have, how do the businesses get on there? You said they can sign up, or, so let's say I have I don't know, crafty store downtown or whatever it is. How do I get my name on there?
Well, we don't have that model yet.
Okay.
Right. So this is just the concept.
It's just the concept.
So a couple things, Aaron, if you want to click on the Chafee Visitors Bureau link, like it could be as simple as the QR code links out to something that sort of already exists with, I think you got to exit out of that. Yep. And then scroll. And there's like already a list of all of our stuff right here on the Visitors
Love it.
Bureau. There are examples of programs that either for a fee or not, you register your business and it gets attached to a map like a directory. So like there are lots of levels, and this right here is the simplest, and it took, I mean, the QR code could go just to this, and then you filter through. But there are lots of, we get approached at the pool a lot to be on this map. Like, hey, come be on the map. You guys, we all remember the map. It's got the little goat on it. It's the cartoony map, and it's got like the businesses that paid the most money are really big on the map, you know, and it's like a cartoon drawing. It's similar concept to that, but more modernized, where you could hover over an area, click, and get more information.
I think this is just what the businesses downtown are asking for. I mean, I'm not saying exactly, but they are asking for signs. I think they'll be very pleased with something like this. I like it.
I wonder if we'd be stepping on toes if we're listed. Me, but somebody can let me know if I'm wrong, or I'd love to hear from the chamber
I think Michael had,
on that.
you're wearing your chamber hat?
Actually, I am now the past president, but that sign project was one of mine. The sign downtown, the chamber put that one together. There, all the businesses are listed, whether they're a chamber member or not, in the downtown area. And there's a QR code on that map that takes you to those chamber's website, which hopefully will be updated continuously. And whenever, I don't know, however many businesses have moved, that'll be reprinted and put back on the side of YOLO.
Which sign are you referring to?
The one on the side of YOLO.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
There was a Think Whatever guide map there for years, and the chamber was allowed to take that space and print a map, and the chamber's willing to do that.
Great. And I think if we could go one step further on this website so that the QR code also leads to a map. So instead of just seeing the businesses, like also see where they are relative to where you are when you're looking at it.
I'll talk to them about that, and we could also add all those public amenities to that also.
Okay, thanks. Other questions, comments?
And just quickly to get your temperature a little bit of there are implications about sidewalk marking. You know, we have our walk your wheels signs that lasted a couple years, but have pretty much due for an update. One of the concepts of this project is that we do have sidewalk guides as well, kind of that follow your hearts concept, or follow the hearts, or follow your heart, whichever one we decide to go with. Is that something that you're interested in kind of seeing more of, or how that might look in real life?
Thoughts?
I like it. I think like Dominique said, the more you can put on there for someone, a map where, okay, so I get the QR code and I scan it, and then it comes up with the businesses, if you can click it somehow and say, which block is this on? It can give you a direction to that. If it's off of the main drag, or you want to go to the bathroom, there's your bathroom, there's your spot. The sidewalk is great too, as long as that can be kept up and looking
Right.
good. And it probably would be during the summer. You know? Are there costs associated yet, or is it too new?
Well, much of this we do think will be able to fit in the existing wayfinding project. We budgeted $125,000 for that wayfinding project. We came into it when it fell in my desk. We went into it looking for some cost savings. Everything from just replacing the logo to a bunch of individual. Point being, I think we can handle it within our current wayfinding budget. wayfinding project budget. Each of the kiosks installed was like $1,200. So each of the pedestrian kiosks that would have the map and the potential to put a variety of different things on it would be installed with the planter about $1,200. Now the planter adds staff time.
What would you use the painted signs on the sidewalk? Because my concern about those is that that's too much. We already got people walking like this with their phone. So I don't want to see a lot of that, but what's the thought that that would be?
I think, like Councilwoman Fontana said, you could have potentially Salida or First Street. What would that be? 500 block? Like whatever. Like you'll have the addresses and theoretically some wayfinding on the phone, but you would have more directionality in just kind of a different manner. You could have River Park, you know, with an arrow. Follow your hearts, and like River Park underneath it with an arrow. Alpine Park, just kind of some general
Like
direction.
businesses, like a heart with, that just says generic businesses. So
Sure.
others, or art galleries or something.
What's that? Yeah, like you could have below that, you could call out certain steam plant, Riverside Park, F Street Bridge, depending on where each of them were placed. But yeah, I mean, adds a little bit of an element.
You don't have to get too wordy with it if you don't want. You know, I was thinking follow the hearts to tie into the historical. But then that gives you the option of just a heart down the sidewalk, you know, as an indicator that there's more down that way.
So you're saying, you know, about the planners, you know, they said that adds quite a bit of time and money, you know, for people to come around and water those. I think they said it was something like twice a day, 7 days a week.
So kind of segues into the next work session item, if you would like to. Should we move in?
Are people ready to segue?
Segue in.
I would just say I like the yellow. It's eye-catching, and if it leads to something on the sidewalks that's the same color, I know I do not have an eye for design. It's my big disclaimer. I'm no Lindsay Sutton Stevens. But I think it's very eye-catching, so.
So we're talking about the planters and the Segway? Is that what
These are different planters.
okay.
So, yeah, we can, any other comments about wayfinding?
It's an option to not have the planters?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep, pretty simple and straightforward. There are cost savings to that too, of course, in a variety of ways, from installation, manufacturing, installation, upkeep. There's some options.
Like ones with like reservoirs that you can fill and go to like 2 times a day, 2 times a week watering kind of stuff. It's a little more expensive on the front end, but then saves on the long run.
On the staff. And this, I'm not sure if there's one designed for this particular style of planter, but if we get into the kind of the F Street, you guys had asked us to investigate some other options for F Street. Do we want to move into that one?
Councilmember Critelli, you're online and asked to be unmuted. Did you have a comment?
I just wanted to see if you can hear me. I don't know how my service is currently.
It's not a great connection.
No, it's not.
If you'd like to,
Okay, well, I guess I'll just text.
yeah, you can send me an
I'll text
email.
my thoughts, but it's nice to be a part of it.
Sure.
Okay, he'll text, great. Anything else before we move into the F Street conversation? Okay.
Great, thank you. Yes, as Diesel has alluded to, we do have some information regarding the F Street Plaza and future F Street uses that the council requested back in November and December. So without rehashing all of this again, as you have seen this information, staff put together information regarding the potential costs of different items associated with either keeping the street open to vehicular traffic or closing it to vehicular traffic, depending on what the council really wanted to look at. A couple of things that we do just want to bring up as we're going through the conversation. So obviously, the survey that was responded to by about 1,200 people had a lot of mixed reviews. A lot of people liked having the street closed to vehicle traffic, but thought that it was starting to look a little worn. And I think that staff would agree with that sentiment as well. We don't have anything in the 2024 budget for making any significant visual improvements to the F Street if it is closed. There are some opportunities coming up in 2025 that are already in the works that would enhance the visual appeal of F Street regardless of it being closed or not, that we just want to bring to your attention for your consideration. If you look on the second page of this memo, which is up there, thank you, Aaron, the last kind of row in this table talks about the intersection improvements that are already being planned and designed for at F and Second and F and Third. So these include increased bump outs at those corners, which look similar to the F and First Street bump outs. So they will improve the ADA access on both of those blocks as well. If you scroll down, David Lady, who is not here tonight, showed a couple aerial improvements. So these are renderings. So you can see F and Second there in the middle of the screen, which shows what it could look like as designed. And Aaron, if you go down one more, so these have pedestrian amenities built into them. There are benches, there are additional bike racks, planters. And if you go down one more, another option is, one more. I don't actually know how many it is. There you go. If the council does decide to keep F Street open to vehicular traffic, there's also an opportunity to extend that pedestrian amenity area into one of the, or half of a parking space. We could realign the parking on F Street to provide for additional pedestrian space if the street were to remain open. We know that that was one of the conversations that came out of this, just wanting to have that space that is safer and feels safer for pedestrians when they're downtown, regardless of the street being open or closed. So those are a couple options there as well. As I said, the design is already being worked on for 2024. The improvements will be made in 2025. That's already in the plan.
And will they be made in time for summer 2025, or would it be later in the year?
You know, David did not say what the timing was, but we can get that information.
Sure.
There are a couple other options here that other staff brought forward, including additional flower baskets to make things pretty. There's a cost associated with that Diesel put together based on the amount of water. And we obviously need a staff person to go out there and water all of the baskets, adding tree lighting, adding any sort of overhead lighting across F Street. Was discussed. I know that fire department had issues, with that idea, just given the height of the trucks if they needed to get down F Street. But it is something that we could, look at as potentially an option. Installing speakers to kind of maybe put some more music out there, make it a little more lively. So there are some options there that do have the costs associated with those improvements. Obviously, if the council is interested in having, an actual pedestrian mall, that would take a significant amount of time and resources to plan that and to pay for it. It's not in our long-term financial management plan at this time, given the fire station that we have. And the last comment that I just wanted to bring forward is at your regular meeting, you will be entertaining a contract with Interstate Parking to provide for a parking management plan in Salida and in the downtown area. One of the primary components of that is having paid parking on F Street and creating a program in which our residents have more opportunity for free parking downtown and really pushing that cost of parking to the visitors, creating more traffic downtown where people are moving their vehicles instead of having them sit all day, and allowing for more access to our businesses throughout the day. And summer is obviously that ideal time for our tourists to be paying for parking and for kind of turn and burn down there, having people move. And if we do have the F Street closure, that we would not have those parking spaces available for paid parking. When we talked to Interstate Parking, they indicated that a lot of those prime spaces on F Street corridor generate about $2,000 annually. And there are 25 parking spots per block down on F Street. So it's just something to consider as we're talking about generating the need to generate revenue to find additional, more permanent parking. So that's the information. Happy to answer questions. We do have staff here. And there you
Who
go.
wants to begin what I suspect will be a robust conversation?
Okay, I'll start. I don't think that we should do this at this time. We just don't have the money to do it. One constituent that I talked with who is pretty active in the community and has a business in that area said that she thinks it's a good year to skip it. And so do I. We can't make people happy with it. We don't have the money to make it look good. The equity issue is never going to go away with it.
You're talking about the
Closure.
mall, yeah.
Yeah.
You're talking, yeah, keeping the street open for traffic.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Just wanted to clarify. Okay, thank you. Who would like to go next?
Go.
Okay.
The three things that are really needling me are the police and fire concerns about having it closed, and the comments about AD access, or alternatively able to access, and that's something I think that we need to weigh heavily too, and just this feeling that we're just not ready with alternative parking, and we have the opportunity to see what paid parking can do.
Thanks. Suzanne?
Sure. I agree that we should keep it open to car traffic, but of course for the reasons you had said, but also for business reasons. So I reached out and talked to many businesses. They would prefer to put, if the city does not have money for development, which it doesn't right now, this would not be in the budget yet. I know you said possibly in the future, some of the bump outs and stuff. So they're mainly asking for signage. They want downtown to be promoted for tourism, to keep it flowing through, as you had stated. And then after, I know it was shut down for reasons. You had talked about that the first couple times. And now hopefully we're past that. So I feel like opening it, keeping it open is a good thing for Salida at this point. Kind of go back to normal, promote our tourism, promote our downtown area, keep traffic going there. Make sure people know that there's a bottom to it and there's a top to it and there's sides to it. And that kind of goes in with the signage and such from the businesses that I talked to. Also, closing it creates more of a burden on the city with the trash and the bathrooms, where are those people going to the bathrooms and such. So I think a business decision downtown, most of those people definitely want it open, kept open this year.
Great. And then, do you want to go?
I myself have a weakness for places where you can come together, and coming together is usually not in a car, but on foot or bike. But But I do think that we need to listen to downtown businesses. That's what the main consideration is. I'm totally excited about all those designs, having a perspective to get F Street more pedestrian friendly, whether we close it or not. That's a really exciting perspective. I have seen last year the energy of the mall going down. So I'm less passionate about pushing the mall than I have been in prior years.
We're on the same page as
Okay.
everybody else, kind of everything,
And-
kind of the same way.
And, I just had a few things. I think doing it as a reset year, or taking a look at it, and then maybe reconvening in the early fall next year, and doing a postmortem, I think makes sense. What I'm really curious to see is, we saw this major COVID bump where we saw our sales tax revenues going up in double digits. And, I want to see, I think a lot of people read too much into that. So it's going to be interesting to see the impact of keeping it open will have on businesses, but we'll have that data next year and we can make an informed decision. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, ever since, it ties into COVID, we've seen so much growth in this community, so much turnover. And I'm really sensing from a lot of people that, traditions are really, really important. And we haven't been able to have the traditional Fib Arc Parade. We haven't been able to have the 4th of July. And, those are very much a part of the fabric of this community, and I would like to see them have an opportunity to do that this year. So that would be my second point. The third would be just the whole issue of equity. Whether that be people that are ambulatory challenged or businesses that are off the F Street drag. There's things that we have to take into consideration there. And then finally, just we don't have the funds to do what so many people in the survey were saying they would want done in order to be really behind this. And the last thing regarding the survey is, 2 years ago, it was like 80% either in support or strongly in support of the closure. This last year, those numbers really narrowed. There just isn't the same degree of passion that we've had in the past. So I'm all for taking a look at it, keeping it open, and reevaluating next fall. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. Anything else?
I loved all the plans, and I loved the community-friendly corners that still allow for traffic but create more space, the benches and stuff. Very exciting. I really appreciate all the work staff put into showing us some options.
And we can look at the budget to see what low-cost items might be available for this summer to just make it nicer down there, even with it open.
I love the idea of the lights in trees, because what I don't like is to see children pulling all the flowers out of the trees and their parents sitting there and giggling about it, like that tree was only for them. Other people might enjoy seeing the blooms in the trees too. Well, electrify those trees.
I'm not having you read the civility invocation.
No, don't do it.
I think you get a break
Yeah.
in between meetings.
Yeah, okay. Well, thank you, everybody. Got about 20 minutes. I have 6 o'clock. If everyone could please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Aaron, could you take roll call, please?
Fontana,
Here.
Casper,
Here.
Nacarado,
Here.
Happenfort,
Here.
Stevens,
Here.
Mayor Shore,
Here.
a quorum is present.
Great. And that'll take us to the civility invocation, which Councilmember Casper will be reading this evening.
We're here working together to create a thriving community. It is the intention of the Salida City Council to promote civil communication by adopting the following guidelines for speaking to the public in the City Council chambers. It is our hope that by acting in this manner, we can help create a safe space for people to share their perspectives and opinions. We honor the opportunity to be engaged in the process of governance for the benefit of our community. We acknowledge that each of us brings a unique perspective to this conversation and that our perspectives may differ. We challenge ourselves to value varying points of view and hold all contributions as equally important. We understand and accept that while we may sometimes disagree, we can always be courteous and kind. We commit to respectful language, avoiding rumor, harsh criticism, or personal accusation, even when feeling emotionally charged. We will, to the best of our ability, speak thoughtfully and listen with attention, respect, and curiosity. We are confident that there may be even better solutions than any of us have thought of, which may be discovered through civil conversation. We affirm our support for women's rights, including equal pay, equal treatment under the law and in the workplace, and the right to determine choices that impact the direction and personal values of one's life, including all individuals' reproductive health choices. We commit to the City of Salida being a hate-free zone and declare and affirm a policy of non-discrimination on the basis of a person's race, color, religion, ancestry, national origin, age, sexual orientation, gender identity, marital status, military or veteran status, socio-economic class, medical conditions, or physical or mental disability.
Thank you. And that brings us to the consent agenda. Any questions or comments on the consent agenda, which looks pretty light this evening?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Combine them.
Oh, combine and approve the consent agenda.
I second that.
So we have a motion from Councilmember Fontana, seconded by Councilmember Casper, and the motion is to combine and approve the items on the consent agenda. Further discussion?
Happenfort,
Yes.
Casper,
Yes.
Nacarado,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Fontana.
Yes.
The motion passed.
And next up is citizen comment. Thanks, Christy. And with citizen comment, there is a 3-minute time limit. I'm going to hold people strictly to that. If anyone feels like they didn't have enough time, please feel free to reach out to me after the meeting. I'm more than happy to make time for you. But we are running a business meeting. I want to be fair to everybody. Once you speak, either myself or Councilmember Casper will reflect back what we heard you say, which isn't an opportunity to continue the conversation. We just want to make sure you know that you were heard. And so first up, we have, is it Katie Blanton? And this is for the F Street closure. You got, Harold?
Okay. Good evening. I am Katie, and I run Coffee by Topo at 211 F Street. It's a new F Street business and cafe and gathering space. I'm super excited to hear about the future plans with infrastructure expansion and revenue going into promoting pedestrian traffic. It sounds like most of you guys have settled on opening up F Street. I would like to say that, I've spoken to a lot of business owners as well regarding it, and most of the folks that I've talked to, overwhelming majority, are in favor of keeping it closed. As far as the issues that are come up with some of like the traditions with the parades and parking, I do think that there are some creative solutions. So whatever you guys do land on, I do want to promote that. Particularly, I think Pride Parade is a really good example where they do a walking parade, which really promotes community and gathering, and 200-300 people are walking through F Street. So we don't need like trucks to make parades happen. But as far as the closure, I agree that it promotes gathering space and people are hanging out, and creates a culture and a vibe that is amazing for a small mountain town and community where people can sit outside my shop with a cup of coffee and enjoy the view past Natural Grocers of the mountains without hearing the loud mufflers of trucks going by. And just the opportunity to utilize it in a new and different way that I'm committed to doing that, and would love the opportunity to do that. So my ask is that if you do land on the street being open this year, that you continue to explore options for the future years. Because my fear is that if it's closed in summer of 2024, that'll just be the precedent, and that we'll just keep doing business as usual. So thank you.
Katie, thanks for being here. What I hear is that you are running the new coffee shop next door to me. And you spoke to the F Street Mall and talked to a bunch of other business owners. You and the majority of those other business owners are in favor of the mall. You heard and you realized that there are some issues with it. You spoke about the parades and feel like there's creative solutions possible. You could take a compromise of not having the mall this year, but you're concerned about the future and you would like us to set us up for a future mall that people can come together and without car noises. Thank you.
Thanks. And then next up, we have Wales Martin.
Good evening, Council, City staff. My name is Wales Martin, and I'm speaking on the topic of the contract with Interstate Parking Company of Colorado, LLC. I first want to say that I think it's great that the City Council and staff are looking for new ways to generate some revenue. Our community is growing, and considering solutions and funding now for future problems and projects is very commendable. I do have a few questions and concerns about the matter. This is going to have a huge impact on locals, and I think it would be beneficial to have a plan of logistics before we sign the contract if there isn't one already. For example, will residents be paying, say, $50 annually for a permit and access to all of the parking spots, or maybe just access to spots that aren't on F Street so that we can save those spots for tourists? And speaking of F Street, should council pursue the F Street closure for the summer, that will take away the most profitable spots, which I know Christy spoke to earlier. Another concern I have is from section 6.2 of the contract, where it states that any free parking spaces that the city provides will still have to be paid for by the city in order to maintain the 50% shared gross revenue agreement with Interstate. If the city pursues giving any free spots, I'm curious of where we'd pull the funds from. Would that be from our own 50% of revenue made, therefore decreasing our profits even further, or from another fund? I'm also curious as to where this money will be going. If it's going to the general fund, I'm wondering if it's possible to allocate a certain percentage of the revenue directly to Public Works, since they will be the ones maintaining parking spots once it's all completed. My last question is about a possibility to renegotiate the 50-50 split of revenue. I understand that Interstate is providing a lot for us, but I think paid parking may be a contentious issue in our community, and a higher profit for the city may reduce concerns. I'm not sure if the 50-50 split is uniform for Interstate, so I'm just wondering if that's possible. And then I also want to quickly touch on the STR tax. It's important to remember that every single constituent has their own opinion about the tax itself and whether it should stay the same or be lowered. And these opinions have been expressed in 2 elections. Whether or not I personally agree or anyone on council personally agrees, I think council should heavily consider both election results before final votes next meeting. Thank you for all that you do and for your time this evening.
Thanks, Wells. Appreciate you being here. What I heard you say tonight is you're here to talk with some questions regarding the agreement or the contract with Interstate. You're really happy that we're looking for new sources of revenue, but you do have some questions and concerns. One is obviously the impact on locals and what plans have been put in place to address that. Secondly was if F Street were to be closed, and if we were to pursue, it takes away all that valuable parking. The third is, there's something in the 6.2 of the contract that says we have to pay for free spots. Where would those funds be allocated out of our 50%, et cetera? The next question was, where does the money go? Is it to the general fund? You'd like to see it get earmarked towards public works. And then the next one was, can we negotiate a different split with them? And then you shifted gears a little bit. You talked about the STR tax and just mentioned that everyone in this community has an opinion, and those opinions were reflected in the vote a couple months back, and you hope that we keep that in mind when we bring that to council for this public hearing and second reading in a couple of weeks. So thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next up, Nicole Hansen.
Hello, Council. Thank you for your time. We have a downtown business on F Street, riveting experience, and we survey every customer that comes in the door and spends money with us about how they found us. And the vast majority of those people find us just by walking by. And I have concerns that if we were to open back up F Street, that traffic is now going to park in front of their destination. They found a restaurant, and then they're going to continue on to Santa Fe or the Springs or wherever they're going. And that closing F Street has actually slowed down traffic, contributed to that rise in sales tax because people are forced to walk around town and go into more stores rather than just seeing us as a pass-through to their final destination. And I'd like you to look at that if you do decide to open it and consider that in what may happen to our sales tax revenue. Let's see. And if you do decide to open F Street back up again, that does put a larger burden on the city to get people to stay here rather than just use us as a pass-through. I absolutely agree with the importance of tradition and that how much parades are part of the sense of community that we have here. And I do think that there are creative solutions to that and that time should be put into finding those solutions. And I'm very curious to what other businesses have been spoken to about the closure of F Street, because we were not part of that. And when people have talked to us about the closure of F Street, to a person, everybody has said how much they enjoy having the walking access, how much safer it feels, and how much of a sense of a community they do get getting out of their car and walking around. I think the only thing that we have seen as far as people unhappy walking around town are men on our street corners with automatic weapons. That does not feel like a welcoming, supportive, nurturing community to the people that we have spoken to. And that's all.
Nicole, thanks for being here. What I hear is you are in favor of a continuing of the F Street Mall. You made some specific points. The most important one is your experience that people find you by walking by and not necessarily by driving by. You respect the traditions. You also find that there's probably creative solutions. You put the responsibility on the city. If we are not having the mall, we need to work hard on keeping visitors in town. Otherwise, you shared your experience of conversations with your clients, with people that came in, that they have enjoyed the mall, and that it's a nice place to come together.
Yes.
Thank you.
And Harry Hansen.
Good evening, council members. It's going to sound a little bit like a broken record because Nicole and I share the same business and we are married. So, but I'm going to reiterate a lot of what she said. When we talk to our customers, in particular in the summers of recent past that have been when the mall's been closed and we've had foot traffic, to a person, everybody, I mean, strangers from out of town will come in and they'll be like, this is amazing. We don't, before we even have an opportunity to ask them what their thoughts are on it, and we try to poll everybody who comes in. That's their general consensus is they love the street closure. I understand the difficulties with it. I understand that it's not as neat and tidy as it could be. And that it hasn't necessarily been taken advantage of by all of the businesses downtown in terms of utilizing the space in front of their spaces. I don't have answers to that, but I do know that the overwhelming majority of people that we know who come here and visit find it to be a very positive thing. So that I'm just gonna put a finer point on that. And then I will also back her up on Mr. Taylor standing on the corner. It is a difficult thing. I've had a conversation with him myself. I respect his freedom of speech, his Second Amendment. I question whether or not that's what we want in our community. Is it necessary to stand on the corner with your AR-15 every Sunday afternoon when I have people coming in off the street that are literally trembling in my business asking me if it's okay to go up the street? He's scaring people, and I'm sorry, I understand, but that's the fact. That's all I got.
Thanks, Harry. Appreciate you being here. What I heard you say is you're really reiterating a lot of what Nicole said. You talked about how so many people that visit here, that come into the store, tell you how amazing the closure is. And then you spend a little time talking about you understanding the difficulties. Maybe it's not as neat and tidy. Maybe some businesses aren't utilizing it the way maybe they could. And then you shifted gears a little bit and you talked about Mr. Taylor standing on the corner, that you've had a conversation, that you respect his rights. You just have some questions around, is this what we want in our community? Is it necessary? And that it's scaring people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. And then Nikki Maines.
Hi, my name is Nikki. First of all, thank you all so much for being here. I don't come to very many meetings, and I just want you to know I really appreciate it. I also own a business on F Street, and no one has ever discussed with me whether I want the road closed or not. I definitely do. Like, absolutely, no question. No one's ever addressed me on it. I think, off subject, everything, I won't go over what Nicole and Harry said, but I agree with all of their points. I guess what I want to talk about is something a little off course, and it's the magic that having that road closed brings to F Street and to Salida. And what that is something you never know what's going to come down the road. That's not going to happen if it's open. And what that is people like the mud people showing up on Saturday and doing their thing. And the tourists that are out there and the locals too are so into it, and it's a memory you don't forget. The idea of not closing it this year is very disturbing to me because I'm pretty sure it'll never happen again if we close it for even 1 year. And I think the way to make it better is to encourage the shop owners on F Street, where the road is closed, to spend some money in making it better. But with the year-to-year not knowing whether it's going to be open the following year, people don't want to invest. So Nicole and Harry, for instance, I don't even want to ask them what they spent on building their gorgeous structure out there every year. I spent a few bucks. I have a pergola, but the other businesses just aren't willing to, invest because they don't know if it's going to be turned down the following year. So I think if you actually said, okay, if we didn't do it from year to year, if you said, we're going to do this absolutely for the next 3 years, maybe people would invest more in it. Like Nicole and Harry, I only hear all my customers love it. There's a few older people that don't want to walk from 2 blocks away, but there's no insurance that during the summer months that they're going to have, good luck getting a spot anywhere on F Street. So those are just a few of my points. I could go on and on.
Thank you.
Nikki, thanks for being here. I heard you're supporting the F Street Mall. You seconded a lot of Nicole and Harry's points, and you brought up a couple new things. You shared that experience of how much life the creativeness of the mud people brought in. You brought up the important point of predictability, and that the investment of businesses in the outdoor space has something to do with how predictable the mall is. Thank you.
Thanks. And then Leslie Jorgensen.
Hi, thank you so much for having us tonight and for your time. I really appreciate you as well. I'm Leslie Jorgensen. I too have a business on F Street, and I want to come out in full support of our pedestrian mall. Even before I was on F Street, I absolutely loved what that brought to our town in terms of the energy, in terms of a family-friendly environment. We see kids on roller skates and people out with their dogs and their families. It's a beautiful part of what we see in Salida, and I know that financial things are important for you guys to be looking at in data, but it's those non-measurable things too. That vibe of Salida, she talked about the magic. I agree. There is something so wonderfully magic about our town. I think, if I may veer off course from that, adding parking meters is something I see in Breckenridge. When I visit Breckenridge, I get out and I get back in my car as quickly as possible because I am worried about that parking meter. So I don't spend that time walking the street and finding new experiences, new restaurants, new shops that I didn't know about, and I don't take that time to meander. It has no soul down there downtown, and I apologize if anybody here lives in Breckenridge, but I really don't, as a citizen of Salida, I really don't want to see us go to parking meters. having people walk into downtown for a block or two or wherever the parking is helps our businesses. It helps the vibe that of our community. And finally, I really heard a really great suggestion from somebody else. I'm going to repeat that the signage that we're talking about, those wayfinding projects. We have a creative district that is so vibrant. And if we could design those signs with the help of our artists and our creative community, I really feel like we could keep that spirit of Salida, that feel of Salida alive, and not sort of corporatize it by making it, too sterile with things like that. Just a thought.
Thanks, Leslie. Appreciate you being here tonight. What I heard you say is you're in full support of the mall, and this goes back to even before you were on F Street. You loved just the energy, the family-friendly environment, and you recognize that while financials are important, there are unquantifiable things which are really important, the vibe, that are really valuable. You shifted gears a little bit and talked about how you've experienced parking meters in Breckenridge, and it's really changed your behavior, just getting in and out of your car, not exploring, not meandering, and there's no soul there. So clearly against the meters. And then finally, in terms of the signage that we discussed earlier, we have this amazingly vital creative district, and you feel like with the help of local artists, we could do something that would really keep the unique feel of this community alive.
Well said. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And then Jane Templeton.
Good evening, Mayor and Council and staff. I'm Jane Templeton, a resident of Ward 1. 3 things tonight. 1, thank you for appointing me to the newly appointed Sustainability Committee. We had our first meeting last week. Really great group of people, very committed. Part of that, not approved by the Sustainability Committee, just my opinion. I am so happy to see Ordinance 1, 2024-1 on your agenda tonight, because we are finally updating the International Energy Conservation Code, among other codes. We've only tried to do that for the last 4 years. Secondly, excuse me, I want to call out Y&K and the great job they did on Poncha Boulevard. They got done early. It's gorgeous. I see people out walking. I see people with their dogs. I see bicycles, everything. It's really wonderful. If you haven't been up there, go up there. And lastly, I would like to second what Wales Martin said about short-term rental taxes. I said this when I was on council. I think it's really important that we listen to what the voters have already said a couple of times about those taxes and take that into account in considering any changes. And now I get to go play trivia with my team at Soulcraft.
Jane, thanks for coming back to the chamber. I heard you express 3 things. You're excited to be part of the newly changed Sustainability Committee. You're excited about the people that we appointed to it. And you're excited that we finally upgrade our energy building code from the last century to this century. Second point, you are really excited about the renovation, the improvements of Poncha Boulevard. And the third point was to remind us that the voters spoke about the short-term rental taxes.
And then Chris Eaton.
Good evening, Council. First off, I want to say it's really great to see, I'm new to town, great to see such a great civil council. Last small town I lived in, it was not quite the same. I am a new business owner on East First Street, just off of F Street. And I moved to town to open this business. I came over here from the Grand Junction area, Palisades specifically. And one of the things that attracted us here was the Creative District. And a big part of that over the last 3 years was watching the energy that the Creative District had with F Street closed. People have a tendency to stick around longer in a situation like that. They have a tendency to be more relaxed, which means they end up spending more time in more businesses, eating in more restaurants, spending more money, generating more sales tax. And, you know, that kind of energy is what attracted us here. I think that there are, you know, improvements can always be made. And I think what I'd like to see, you know, to echo what was said a few minutes ago is, instead of this being a discussion every year that here we are in January and what are we going to do in a few months, I think the city council should commit to like a 5-year plan to keep it closed, with each year working to make improvements, you know, so that in 5 years it's an even better outdoor mall experience for everybody. You know, the more people spend downtown, you know, the more, you know, and have that positive energy, you know, the better it's going to be for everybody. You know, and counter to that, just for the record, I feel that parking meters in our small downtown would actually be counterproductive to that kind of energy and that kind of, frankly, business environment for the tourist-oriented businesses, especially the restaurants. And so I'd like to see, you know, a commitment to F Street becoming, you know, growing every year as a great outdoor experience. And I agree that the city council should work to encourage the business owners on F Street to take advantage of that space. And part of doing that would be a long-term commitment to this as an experience. So, had one other. I also agree that the signage should reflect the creative district that the downtown is. And by tapping into the local artists, you know, and having it be a part of that as opposed to just looking like something that could be downtown Denver. So thank you for your time.
Chris, thank you. Appreciate you coming up. What I heard you say, you really appreciated the civility of council. You're a new business owner on First, just off of F, and what really attracted to you was the creative district, and over the last 3 years, just all the energy that revolved around the closure. You felt like people were more relaxed, they were staying longer, spending more, and you feel like instead of this being a discussion, you feel like the council should make and stick to a 5-year plan and then make improvements each year. And then you shifted gears a little bit and felt like the meters would be contrary to that type of energy that you had brought up, and that you feel like we need to try to encourage business owners to invest more. And then finally, you really like the idea of the signage that would reflect local artists. Thanks. And then Nancy Dominic.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for your time. My name's Nancy Dominic. I live on County Road 105. I went to the county the other day and nobody knew about the annexation of the county road. Not the commissioners, not Sheriff Speasy, not the assessor's office, nor the finance department. Wouldn't the county have been included on this to sign off on this annexation? Did the city tell the affected residents that their addresses would change from County Road 105 to Old Stage Road? Many residents on County Road 105 are elderly and do not have computers and would not be able to look this up. Why the secrecy? You guys need to be a little bit more transparent. None of us knew about it. Thank you for your time.
Nancy, thanks for being here. You went to the county and found out that none of the officials there knew about the annexation of 105 that's connected to a name change to Old Stage Road. You're concerned about the sequencing of the decisions and request more transparency. Did I get you right?
Okay. And then Danny Taylor.
Good evening, Council, Mayor.
I'd like to shift gears just a little bit. Instead of talking about F Street and the closure and everything, which originally I was against, but after listening to everybody talk about how welcoming it is, and it's nice to see everybody walking around there. I'm actually looking forward to taking full advantage of that this summer. So I am all on board. I'd even like to see F Street closed permanently. Why not? So anyway, the reason why I'm here to talk tonight is because I am a resident of Ward 3. I'd like to speak on the representation of Ward 3, rather the lack of. Ever since the former representative of Ward 3 moved out of the ward, per this city council's rules, not our rules, but your guys' rules, which I have to assume were adopted and drafted by this council and approved. The people of Ward 3 are quickly becoming aware that we do not have a representative that lives in our ward. And we would like a better answer that is not coattailed in a loophole being exploited. See, the longer this goes on, okay, the people of Ward 3 are going to start questioning why this council isn't taking action. I hope you understand what I'm saying. You guys are starting to get looked at as being implicative in this action. You should not be on the council. Every single vote that this representative has taken should be expunged, redone. Every one of them. He is not our representative. Now, like I said, the loopholes, we all have our definitions that we can play, and it seems that this representative thinks that because he found a good loophole that he can use, he's an expert. That's simply untrue. So anyway, thank you for your time. I hope you guys make a good decision in this, because the people are starting to smell the stink.
Thanks, Danny. Appreciate you being here. What I heard you say is you came here and shifting gears a little bit, but then you brought up the fact that you've changed your mind on the closure after hearing so many people speak this evening, and that you'd actually like to see it closed permanently. And then you shifted gears to talk about that you are a resident of Ward 3, and that ever since a former resident who's on council moved out, questions have come up. There were rules that were adopted that have been approved by council, and residents of the ward are becoming more and more aware every day of that. You would like a better answer than a loophole. I think the term you used was being exploited. And you feel like the longer this goes on, the more the residents of Ward 3 are going to question why council hasn't taken any kind of action. And you feel like, every vote should be expunged, that he's no longer the representative of the ward. So thank you. Thank you. Okay. Do we have anyone online?
We do. We have Adam Martinez.
Okay. Adam, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, Adam, we can hear you.
Okay. A few quick things. I would like to say is Harold should resign from Ward 3, because we need a representative who lives in our ward, and if he had moved out all of his property from the from his house at County Road 110, then he cannot have two properties at one time. He cannot have his cake and eat it too, and he is not obeying the election laws and the municipal code. And I think it's time to get somebody in there who knows who will adhere to the law. And then also, regarding the street closures, is in essence, my mom and Dick Levitt and Mark Kovanik and others don't like the street closures because their customers have a hard time accessing the street and will not come to downtown. And you guys need to be fair to everybody, not just the majority. And you guys need to do the right thing because we pay taxes on those streets. And then in essence, finally, I would like to say is that Mrs. Fontana needs to get her facts straight, because did she talk to any of the other businesses besides the ones that she talked to regarding the street closures? Thank you.
Adam, thanks for calling in. First thing I heard was you would like me to resign. You think me owning 2 houses and is not right, and I'm doing something unlawful by not resigning. You would like F Street Mall to not happen this year. You bring up the experiences from your mom and Mark Ravanek, and both of them claim that people have less access to their shop if we have that mall. And then I did not really get the point about Suzanne, but something about her not getting the facts straight. But sorry, I didn't really understand that.
Okay, thanks. And is that, okay, wonderful. Then we're going to move on to unfinished business and ordinance 2024-01, an ordinance of the City of Salida, Colorado, amending Chapter 18 of the Salida Municipal Code by adopting by reference the 2021 International Building Code, the 2021 International Residential Code, the 2021 International Fire Code, the 2021 International Fuel Gas Code, the 2021 International Mechanical Code, the 2021 International Plumbing Code, the 2021 International Energy Conservation Code, the 2021 International Existing Building Code, the 2021 International Property Maintenance Code, the 2021 International Swimming Pool and Spa Code, the most current version of the National Electric Code, which has been adopted by the Colorado State Electric Board, the 1997 Uniform Code for the Abatement of Dangerous Buildings, the 2021 International Wildland Urban Interface Code, providing penalties for the violation thereof, and making conforming amendments to Chapter 18 of the Salida Municipal Code. This is a final reading and a public hearing, and I will hereby open the public hearing, and I'll turn it over to city staff for their report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. You have before you a council action form outlining the various changes within the ordinance before you. As a reminder, the City of Salida, through an IGA with Chaffee County, utilizes their building code to provide services to our community. Within that IGA, we do note that the City of Salida will adopt the same codes as the county for consistency across all jurisdictions. In 2021, through a resolution, City of Salida expressed its support of the adoption of either the 2018 or 2021 version of the IECC and urged Chaffee County to do the same. In 2022, the state legislature passed House Bill 22-1362 that required all local governments to transition to the 2021 International Conservation Code during their next building code update or by January 1st of 2026. As Chaffee County is updating the building code, we are required to then implement the 2021 IECC as well. Chaffee County has already adopted these codes. The plan is, if council adopts this ordinance as well, all codes within the county would go into effect March 1st, 2024. Staff recommends approval of ordinance, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for staff? Okay. All right, and we don't have an applicant on this one. Is there anyone that signed up for public comment? Nope.
We do,
Is
we do
someone
have
online?
someone online. Matt Nichol.
Is it you or me? Is it me? Okay.
Matt, are you there? You're self-muted.
Yep, can you hear me?
Yeah, and Matt, I didn't catch your last name, just.
Yeah, sure. It's N as in Nancy, Y, K-I-E-L.
K-I-E-L, great, thanks.
Okay, sorry, I got a little static there, and I apologize I can't be there in person tonight. I would have liked to have, but yeah, I just wanted to thank the city for updating the building code to the 2021 standards. I think that's a really good thing. And in addition to that, I wanted to encourage the city council to take a more active and supportive role in the consideration of additional amendments to the energy code, which would further promote energy conservation, greenhouse gas emission reductions, and keeping homeowner and business owner utility bills low. I presented a little bit on this, but Chaffey County is exploring adopting an additional amendment to the energy code, and that model code language is called electric preferred. And I would just encourage the council to direct its staff to play an active and positive role in supporting that effort. As you know, the city of Salida has committed to reducing energy-related carbon emissions by at least 50% by 2030. And further enhancing our energy code would be a huge and significant way to achieve our city's goal. And in addition to that goal, the city's climate action plan actually identified this as a specific action. In the plan, it says, adopt the latest energy code with specific local requirements to exceed minimum standards, which is exactly what electric preferred would do. And in addition to being one of the most significant ways to reduce greenhouse gas emissions that we as a community, local rural community, are responsible for, the climate action plan identified several primary co-benefits of doing such a thing, which include promoting equity, fostering economic sustainability, improving local environmental quality, and building resilience. And I would argue the fifth co-benefit in the climate action plan of enhancing public health and safety would also be part of adopting a more progressive energy code. So I guess just to sum it all up, I just appreciate the city's adoption of the 21 standards, but I think we can do a little bit better as the city had intended in the climate action plan, and would encourage the council and its staff to take a more active role in supporting that effort alongside Chaffey County, Buena Vista, and Poncha Springs. Thanks.
Thanks. Matt, appreciate you being here, or being online rather. And you started by thanking the city for updating the building codes to the 2021 standards. And you really encourage us to take an active role with the energy code, with greenhouse gas emissions. You were breaking up a little bit, but there was more that you said there, in that with Chaffey County looking at adopting the electric preferred, you really would encourage council to direct staff to support that effort in any way that we can, and that further enhancing the code will help us with our 2030 goals. It ties in with the climate action plan, and so once again, you're appreciative of what we've done, but you feel like there's more we can do also. Thank you. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Very good. No applicant. Anything city staff at this point? Nothing to offer. Very good. I'm going to go ahead then and close the public hearing, and that'll take us to our preliminary council discussion. Who would like to begin?
It's about time.
I agree.
I agree that, like Jane said, I think way before I was here, and probably some of us up here, it has we've been way behind in pushing the codes through and passing them. But I did have some people come to me and say, just to make sure that council knows that it is going to increase the cost of building. But I think that, as the gentleman just said in his notes, that's part of it. We have to get up to sustainability, to where we should be with the electric codes and all of it, conservation and such. But someone will have to pay that additional cost, if that's the developers, if that's the builders, if that's the homeowners, or if that's, the city reaching into affordable housing and such. But I do agree that it needs to go forward.
Just want to state the obvious. This is an upgrade of a lot of codes, and some of the codes are only upgraded like 2 or 3 years, but the energy building code is, it was still from 2006. So this is a huge step, and I'm really, really excited about it. This is the first thing that we as a sustainability committee identified to address when we first got together, and it has been a long path to do that. Following those principles, I am in favor of supporting the amendment. I'm not sure whether it needs any action right now, but I certainly would like to have Salida work together with the county on including the electric preferred amendment.
Do we have anyone else that will go ahead and support that? I mean, I certainly will, but.
I'm not ready to support that at this time.
Okay.
I would say that from what I understand, and there was the green drinks the other night on green building as well, and this was discussed, and some builders are already there and they're already building this way, and so it's not going to change their costs much at all, but other builders have to get up to speed. And it is a big jump. So my thought is I would like to discuss it with the Sustainability Committee, because we have so much energy expertise on that committee. Just want to point out again that there are also huge environmental costs with electrification. It does address climate crises, but it doesn't address the other mineral costs that go along with electrification. So I just don't want to give the impression of greenwashing with it. So I think there's a lot to think about there. I'd just like to, I know the county, their main thing is to give it more time so we can analyze our balance with building workforce housing, that kind of thing, and whether there will be significant benefits between electric preferred and electric ready. Only one community has adopted it so far, electric preferred versus electric ready. This is my understanding. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong again.
I'm not going to correct you. You know a lot more than I do.
But that's, so let's wait and see. That's kind of my feeling on it.
Sounds like maybe take it to the Sustainability Committee next, and then.
Yeah, I think that we could get some good input from the Sustainability Committee members.
I think that sounds good.
Yep, great. Anyone else with, on discussion? Or would someone like to make a rather long motion?
I'll do it.
Okay.
Yay.
Since Councilmember Critelli's online.
I was winded after.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve ordinance 2024-01, an ordinance of the City of Salida, Colorado, amending Chapter 18 of the Salida Municipal Code by adopting by reference the 2021 International Building Code, the 2021 International Residential Code, the 2021 International Fire Code, the 2021 International Fuel Gas Code, the 2021 International Mechanical Code, 2021 International Plumbing Code, the 2021 International Energy Conservation Code, the 2021 International Existing Building Code, the 2021 International Property Maintenance Code, the 2021 International Swimming Pool and Spa Code, the most current version of the National Electric Code, which has been adopted by the Colorado State Electric Board, the 1997 Uniform Code for the Abatement of Dangerous Buildings, the 2021 International Wildland Urban Interface Code, providing penalties for the violation thereof, and making conforming amendments to Chapter 18 of the Salida Municipal Code on second reading.
Second.
So we have a motion from Councilmember Nacarado, seconded by Councilmember Pappenfort, and the motion is to approve ordinance 2024-01, an ordinance of the City of Salida, Colorado, amending Chapter 18 of the Salida Municipal Code by adopting by reference the 2021 International Building Code, the 2021 International Residential Code, the 2021 International Fire Code, the 2021 International Fuel Gas Code, the 2021 International Mechanical Code, the 2021 International Plumbing Code, the 2021 International Energy Conservation Code, the 2021 International Existing Building Code, the 2021 International Property Maintenance Code, the 2021 International Swimming Pool and Spa Code, the most current version of the National Electric Code, which has been adopted by the Colorado State Electric Board, the 1997 Uniform Code for the Abatement of Dangerous Buildings, the 2021 International Wildland Urban Interface Code, providing penalties for the violation thereof, and making conforming amendments to Chapter 18 of the Salida Municipal Code. Further discussion?
Casper,
Yes.
Nacarado,
Yes.
Pappenfort,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Montana.
Yes.
The motion passed.
And that brings us to new business and the appointment of Sarah Law as interim city clerk and adjustment of her salary for the period of such appointment.
I promise this will not be as exhausting. So, as you all are aware, City Clerk Erin Kelly is leaving us, and we are sad about that. And we also need to make sure that business continues. Sarah Law, who is also no longer in the clerk's office because she is our sustainability coordinator and public information officer, has graciously offered to step in as interim if it pleases the council to do so. We do need to have someone in the clerk's position for a variety of legal issues. So I am recommending the appointment of Sarah Law as our interim city clerk, adjusting her salary for the period of that appointment. The clerk's position has been posted. Thank you. So we are hopeful that we will have someone in that position in the near future, but we do need to have that position covered until then.
I can't speak for the rest of council, but it does please the mayor. Questions, discussion, motion?
Well, thank you, Sarah, for stepping up and being willing to do all those jobs at one time.
Yes, be nice to her. Be very, very nice to her, please.
Yes, congratulations, I suppose, if that's appropriate.
I don't know if we have the verbiage for a motion, just.
You can, number 6.
Okay.
Just, yeah.
Just say number 6?
I would move to approve Sarah Law as interim city clerk.
I would move to approve Mr. Mayor, I would move to approve the appointment of Sarah Law as interim city clerk and adjustment of her salary for the period of such appointment.
Second.
So we have a motion from Councilmember Fontana, seconded by Councilmember Casper, and the motion is to approve the appointment of Sarah Law as interim city clerk and adjustment of her salary for the period of such appointment. Further discussion?
Stevens, Casper,
Yes.
Montana,
Yes.
Nacarado,
Yes.
Pappenfort.
Yes.
The motion passed.
And next up is the appointment of the Chaffey County Community Fund Community Grants Review Committee.
The city of Salida has, over the last couple of years, given a contribution to the Chaffey County Community Fund to provide for community grants during the spring. That process requires a grant review committee to review all the grants and make recommendations to the Chaffey County Community Foundation Board to approve those. The City of Salida Council has an opportunity to appoint one council member to participate in that process over the next couple of months. So we need to have one of you raise your hand.
And so we have heard that if no one else is willing to do it, that Councilmember Critelli would be willing to step up. The only thing I want to put out there, and I'm not putting pressure on anybody, but this is a really good opportunity to learn a lot about all the nonprofits and what they do in our community. And so, for our two new council members, once again, no pressure, because Councilmember Critelli has said he'd do it if anyone doesn't, but it's a great way to get to know them. I did it about 3 years ago. It is a fair amount of work, but it's work with a defined end date. It'll all be done by, I think, the end of March, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So,
This year?
yeah, this year.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Oh,
If it's only till March, I can do that, because summer's my busy.
yeah, it ends in March when they make the appoints and the grants, so.
And then somebody else does it? Or it
Next
just
year,
goes away?
it goes away, and then next year, at the same time, we'll have
Do
the
this
same
again.
discussion.
Yeah.
And Councilmember Pappenfort did it the last 2 cycles, and,
Oh, thank you. Yes, I'll do that till March. It's perfect.
okay. Councilmember Critelli, if you can hear us, you're off the hook.
He cannot hear you.
You cannot hear me, okay, okay. That's all right, I didn't say much.
You might listen to the YouTube
Yeah,
later.
yeah. Okay, then, similar thing, we would just need a motion, and, obviously putting in Councilmember Fontana's name. if someone-
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I move to appoint Suzanne Fontana to the Chaffey County Community Fund Community Grants Review Committee.
Second.
So a motion from Councilmember Pappenfort, seconded by Councilmember Casper, and the motion is to appoint Councilmember Suzanne Fontana to the Chaffey County Community Fund Community Grants Review Committee. Further discussion?
Nacarado,
Yes.
Fontana,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Pappenfort,
Yes.
Casper.
Yes.
The motion passed.
Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
And then next up, we have Resolution 2024-10, a resolution of the City Council for the City of Salida, Colorado, approving the Development Improvement Agreement for 1030 Illinois Avenue.
Thank you. So Resolution 2024-10 is for approval of a development improvement agreement with Just Off the River property owners of 1030 Illinois for the sewer main extension. The development improvement agreement sets forth the requirements for what they are to complete with the public improvements, and it includes the dedication to the city once complete. Staff recommends council approve Resolution 2024-10, and I'll answer any questions if you have them.
All right.
This is the one that we just did the pre-annexation agreement on last month for them.
Okay, thanks. That helps provide a little
Yeah.
context. It's a multi-step process.
Yes.
Yeah. Questions on this?
Has anything changed since we made that motion?
No.
No.
No, they've submitted plans for their sewer, for the main. And they have to do that before they can build a house.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve Resolution 2024-10 to approve the proposed development improvement agreement for 1030 Illinois Avenue.
Second.
So we have a motion from Councilmember Casper, seconded by Councilmember Nacarado. The motion is to approve Resolution 2024-10 to approve the proposed development improvement agreement for 1030 Illinois Avenue. Further discussion?
Pappenfort,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Nacarado,
Yes.
Casper,
Yes.
Fontana.
Yes.
The motion passed.
And that brings us to Resolution 2024-11, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Salida, Colorado, supporting an application for state grant funds to assist in the implementation of affordable housing efforts in compliance with the requirements of State of Colorado Proposition 123 and committing local matching funds.
Evening, Mayor and Council.
as most of you are aware, the city committed to Prop 123 affordable housing requirements this past spring, and that makes us eligible for a whole bunch of money that's out there in grants. And one of the requirements of it is that over the next 2 years or so, we create a fast track process for affordable housing projects with a substantial amount of affordable housing as part of them. This is going to require a fair amount of work on the part of staff, in addition to helping to shepherd the other affordable housing projects that we have in the midst through, be it South Arc or First and D or other ones. And so we are looking at shifting some personnel into a position that would be half-time, really focused on the housing side of things and helping to implement 123. The state has some funding to help us with that process, and we're planning something along these lines anyways, and we're going to be applying for a grant that will help us do this in a more financially efficient manner. And one of the requirements of the grant itself is a letter of support from council. So with that, I can take any questions that you might have.
Questions? Makes sense to me.
Thanks for looking out for that.
Do you already have somebody hired or to shift over into the position?
The intention is to have our existing planner, Catherine Dunleavy, move into that role where she'd be half-time or a little bit more than half-time working on these housing issues, and then backfill some of that work plus other work that we have with a new hire of an assistant planner sometime early this year. So we get a little bit more on staff to be able to accomplish the heavy workload that we have and has been growing over the last few years.
So it's achievable? I mean, putting somebody there and going for all of these things?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, this grant would help out quite a bit. The state is able to fund the proportionate amount of the work that is specific to the affordable housing side of things, really with no strings attached, which is kind of nice. And it just makes us a little bit more flexible, hopefully a little bit more responsive. We have a fairly small staff, and with all the growth and development and interest and everything else, it's become quite challenging over the last couple of years especially.
And I'll just echo that. I mean, there's just 4 people on that staff. I mean, I know in this past year, the number of building permits that came through your department went up significantly. And, I mean, I think it would make so much sense if they have more resources. I mean, we've made it clear that affordable housing is really important to us. So something like this can help give them the tools so that they can act on it more efficiently and quickly.
Yeah, we have twice the amount of land use applications and building permits that we had just 4 years ago, and we only have 25% more staff. So it's jumped up quite a bit.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve Resolution 2024-11, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Salida, Colorado, supporting an application for state grant funds to assist in the implementation of affordable housing efforts in compliance with the requirements of State of Colorado Proposition 123 and committing local matching funds.
Second.
So we have a motion from Councilmember Pappenford. I thought you guys were going to leave her hanging there for a minute. Seconded by Councilmember Nacarado. And the motion is to approve Resolution 2024-11, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Salida, Colorado, supporting an application for state grant funds to assist in the implementation of affordable housing efforts in compliance with the requirements of State of Colorado Proposition 123 and committing local matching funds. Further discussion?
Pappenford?
Yes.
Casper?
Yes.
Nacarado?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Fontana?
Yes.
The motion passed.
And next up is Resolution 2024-12, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Salida, Colorado, approving citizen appointments to the Tree Board pursuant to Section 2-12-10 of the Salida Municipal Code. And which hat are you wearing now?
All of them.
Okay.
Good evening, Council. In the work session, you all had the applications for 2 additional appointees for the Tree Board. They were a part of the Tree Board in 2023 and would love to continue in 2024. And with that, I'm here for any questions.
I would just say it's so great to see all the interest in these different boards and the applicants. It hasn't always been this way, so.
Somebody else's turn.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-12, a resolution of the City Council for the City of Salida, Colorado, approving the following appointments to the Tree Board. The council hereby appoints Wendy, is it Wiener, as a 2-year member of the Salida Tree Board, term to expire January 2nd, 2026, and Chris Chestaski. The City Council hereby appoints Chris Chestaski as a 2-year member of the Salida Tree Board, term to expire January 2nd, 2026.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion from Councilmember Fontana, second by Councilmember Casper. And the motion is to approve Resolution 2024-12, a resolution of the City Council for the City of Salida, Colorado, approving the following appointments to the Tree Board. The City Council hereby appoints Wendy, and I'm not sure if it's Weiner. Is it Weiner or? Oh, thank you for leaving me hanging there. Just as a 2-year member of the Salida Tree Board, term to expire January 2nd, 2026. And the City Council hereby appoints Chris Chitaski as a 2-year member of the Salida Tree Board, term to expire January 2nd, 2026. Further discussion?
Casper,
Yes.
Nacarado,
Yes.
Pappenfort,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Fontana.
Yes.
The motion passed.
And next up is ordinance 2024-02, an ordinance of the City Council for the City of Salida, Colorado, approving the management agreement with Interstate Parking Management. This is a first reading and setting a public hearing.
Good evening, Council. Yes, first reading for this ordinance. As a reminder, well, the City of Salida Council has been talking about having a more defined parking management program for a couple of years. And we have, at the end of last year, kind of gotten on track with interstate parking to really understand what a parking management program could look like. So it's not just a paid parking program. It's a way for us to identify different places downtown for maybe paid parking, maybe free parking, as we potentially institute paid parking in a certain area of town. People will continue to move outside of that paid area to park, and we want to make sure that we are keeping our residents of the area in mind as we're moving through this. So you have an agreement in front of you. If the council approves the agreement at the next meeting, it will allow us to begin the conversations with Interstate Parking to actually build the program. So at a work session in November, we brought forward a draft map that myself, our finance director, community development director, park and recreation director, and police chief and public works director had collectively worked on to really identify what areas of the downtown people used and in what way. So we had identified the parking lot across the river as one that's used more for accessing recreation up on S Mountain, identifying a couple parking lots that we are currently leasing as potential employee parking, identifying areas downtown that could be, residential parking. So Interstate Parking has the ability to work with us to really create a program that allows us to meet the needs of our citizens, our business owners, and our residents downtown. We had talked about the option of having up to, maybe an hour free parking for our residents. Interstate Parking will come to the city, help us register residents, help us really educate the community members on how the paid parking or parking downtown could actually work for them. We did have some good points brought up in public comments, and I'm happy to address those as well if you'd like me to at this point. So, yes, logistics for locals, we absolutely want to take into consideration how our locals use our downtown and not burden them with, if they just need to run into a store really fast, they don't need to pay for, 15 minutes of parking. So that is something that we can work into the program. Cars are registered, license plates are registered, and that's how the interstate parking employees identify if they're a resident or not. And it would come up in the system that they have free parking for a certain amount of time. The free parking in section 6.2 would eat into any profits that the city would see, but we do think that it's important that there are places that we don't charge for parking. As we get out into those residential areas, maybe it's not as necessary for us to pay for that. Again, the map has not been finalized, so we can have those discussions to understand really what it means to not be seeing that revenue. Can the money be put towards public work? So right now the money is directed towards the general fund. Part of the council's discussion with staff throughout this entire process is the importance of having money available for a permanent solution. As we are all aware, the city does not own any of the lots currently that provide public parking. We lease those. The lease costs go up annually. It's not sustainable for us to continue to rely on other people to want to lease their property to us. So in order for us to find a permanent, sustainable solution, this is a way that we could start looking at that. Can we change the 50-50 split? That seems to be standard in the interstate parking agreements. Again, we can look at how much we're charging in different areas. We're not talking exorbitant amounts like you're in downtown Denver and it's, $10 for an hour to park downtown. So we don't really know how much money will come in through this. Part of it was obviously a discussion with F Street. So until we have finalized those maps and those rates, there isn't a lot of financial data that we can actually put forward to you, but could provide additional information at the next the next reading and public hearing. So happy to answer any questions.
Questions?
I have one.
Yeah.
So when you say locals parking down there is the first one, I consider Buena Vista locals. I consider Saguache locals. They come up, and obviously I don't charge for parking in my parking lot, but they come up and shop here all the time. They're our customers. Cotopaxi's our customers. Are those locals? They're not locals.
You can tell me.
I mean,
we could, if the council wants to go that far out
Yeah.
and not have it, just, honestly, yes, Salida residents are the ones that we are most interested in ensuring that, we're being fair and thoughtful to Salida residents. Honestly, that's what staff had really been thinking about, but this is a program that we can discuss, so.
Right, because, I'm sure one of the restaurants downtown or whatever it is, they want Buena Vista people to come eat here. And I don't want this to be a deterrent. I'm not saying I'm not for it. I just have a few questions to ask. I don't want to deter anybody from coming to eat here or to shop here or to run in one of the stores for 15 minutes. And then I suppose you don't have the rate data yet.
Correct.
And that's something that can be directed. you know, I was here at the presentation, but I don't remember the map. Was there I mean, I know our parking lots, the railroad parking lot, and we would be able to charge for that. We would be able to charge for the one we lease.
So we lease two, one at
Yes.
323 First Street, which is
Uh-huh.
where the Salida Bottling Company was.
That's the one.
We also have a lot that we rent, that we lease. It's between Second and First Street, next to the Spur Trail.
Behind the Green Cat.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. So none of that would be compromised by us charging
Correct,
fees to rent,
correct,
to pay for parking.
correct.
Okay, well, that's a good thing. And then it says parking metered 24/7, 365 days a year. So,
That's their availability. So if we decide that Christmas Day, we're not gonna charge for anybody, we can decide Christmas Day, we're not charging for anybody. But their operational capacity is
they
365.
could do that.
Yep.
And so if I go downtown and I decide not to drive home for whatever reason, well, maybe not me, because I live here, but.
You could decide not to drive home for
I
a
could
reason when you're
decide
down.
not
That's
to drive
okay.
home. Right.
Yeah,
and
and
my-
So we
No
could,
judgment,
we
but
could
if
put
I
hours
didn't-
on it. So we could say that paid parking, we would charge for parking between the hours of 8 a.m. and, I don't know, 7 p.m.
Okay,
So
so
if
if I
it's
left my
overnight,
car
because we
downtown
already have,
overnight.
right, we already have the no overnight parking in some areas.
Right. So that can all be adjusted?
Yes.
Because I was here at that presentation.
Yes.
Sometimes the presentation is so glamorous that you forget to ask these things. Some of them are very good. Takes a while. It does.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're really good.
What we have heard from Interstate Parking as well as from other municipalities that I reached out to personally, Crested Butte, Steamboat Springs, Breckenridge, Idaho Springs all use, maybe not Steamboat Springs, sorry, Idaho Springs, all use interstate parking, and it's a program that can be adjusted to our needs within the community. If it's not working, we can adjust again. So it's not something that is in stone.
Is it something, and even an option to start with the parking spaces across the river and our other lots that we rent? Or do we just jump right in and just do all 750 spaces or whatever it is? I mean, we can do it either way.
We could.
And they would be willing to do that? Or no?
Yes, they are willing to do what we decide we want to do.
Just to confirm, we could also change the amount of time. So
Yes.
they could pay for 4 hours.
Yes.
And then we don't have that, like, limited
Correct.
time feeling that some
Correct.
of the comments
Yeah, I
talked
need
about.
to
Yeah, I
even
mean, we
leave.
could,
In my sense is, this is just a first reading. It'll be during the public hearing. We're going to get a lot more feedback, which will probably influence.
and I'm happy to ask Interstate Parking to be here in person for the second reading to confirm what I believe.
And the other thing I wanted to mention is, I mean, if you look at what's going on with the police department and the just explosion in number of calls, they don't have the capacity to be checking on cars and how long they've been there. And so you could have situations where someone could park down there and take up a spot all day. That brings in no revenue. It doesn't cause anything to turn over. And so something like this, I'm open to hearing other people's feedback, but that is something just, I think people in the community needs to be aware of is, you know, they're dealing with so much right now.
It's extremely inconsistent as well, the parking.
Mm-hmm.
And then the businesses have the opportunity to hire employees and they have a place to park?
We identified 2 parking lots that could be not only for employees, but have longer parking times. So when employees register their vehicles, we would have that.
So they don't have to pay, because obviously they're going to be working.
Right, right.
Okay, sorry.
Or they can come with a bike.
They can come with a bike, but I didn't mean to take up all the questions. You guys?
Well, I have comments. I actually don't have. I understand that this is just a first step, right? And all these details will be discussed at a later point, right?
Yes.
I did also wonder about the 50-50 split, and if
Yes.
that's negotiable, and if we should encourage you to negotiate that.
You can encourage me to do that.
I do encourage that.
Yes.
Because it seems like it would be harder to backpedal from that, and we just don't know how it's going to go the first year.
When you spoke to those other cities, are they raising money for what you're saying? We're trying to raise money to maybe fix our parking problem eventually.
So
Are they
some
raising?
of them, it's very different in each community. So Crested Butte does not have paid parking. They hired Interstate Parking to patrol, for lack of a better phrase, their timed parking. So they have 2-hour limits on Elk Avenue, but they don't charge for the time. So their contract with Interstate Parking has Crested Butte backfilling their contract with Interstate Parking for any tickets.
Code
that don't
enforcement.
Right, so it's basically code enforcement. So theirs is very different. Breckenridge is obviously not Salida, and they have varying levels of time restraints in different parking lots at different times of the year. So there is money that they're making from that. And Idaho Springs has some of the mix as well. So some free spaces and some paid.
Have we thought about what Crested Butte does? I mean, was that presented and I didn't, or is that just part of this
We're not there
discussion?
yet. We're not there yet.
Okay.
So I can reshare the map with everyone, or we can. I'll make sure that it's included in the next council packet. We had identified timed but free spots that were off of F Street, so that there was still kind of that turnover, so that people, tourists, visitors to the community, were not parking in front of someone's house all day. There was still like that turnover, so we weren't burdening the residents. So there we had layers. We had paid, free, and extended paid employee.
Okay.
Can I implement it like people parking in front of my house? Can I charge them and they pay me? I think it's good. Is
I'm
that
not
it?
going to say that you can't.
The public spot.
Okay.
I just think it's just we just need to be transparent about all this. Get it out to the community. Make sure that everybody knows. Take our time on it. Don't rush
No.
anything, and just make sure that everybody kind of gets on the board and see what the community thinks. And
And we're going to get that
Yeah.
in 2 weeks. I'm
For
sure there's
sure.
going to be a lot of public comment, which is great. It's,
It is. I like the idea of not charging people to come here extra, because, I mean, it's Salida. We want it to be one of those, a destination where that you're not going there to spend this amount of money. We want them to come here and enjoy everything we have at a reasonable price. But I also understand we have a parking situation. So it's going to have to be a balance of, do we just figure out how much, or who do we charge, or what are our limits on it, and then, or do we do code enforcement with what we have? Yeah.
Seems like we moved towards comments, so I will speak a little bit too. We have had like 4 or 5 years a really good parking study done, and the biggest outcome that I remember was that paid parking is the solution to manage parking. I really loved the presentation of Interstate. I love all the flexibility. But I come with my own own perspective as a European and someone that's easy on the bicycle, I don't think we have a parking issue. On 2nd Street, 3 blocks away from downtown, there is 1 to 2 days out of the year that people park to do something in town. Starting to charge for parking, it's more a psychological effect. It's not really a burden for anyone. When they really come to go out to eat, it will be a fairly minimal percentage, but it's a huge psychological effect. So I think it's the right technique or the right tool. I'm impressed by the company. For my taste, it's too early. We will get there, but I don't think we have enough of a parking issue yet to have paid parking. And to your point, if there was something like hiring them to enforce the limited time parking, that would be very attractive to me.
Okay. Sounds like we're going to have a pretty interesting conversation in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and it would be cool if we could just do the enforcement of the laws that we have now, but that's going to cost us a lot of money. And that's the opposite direction we need to move, you know. We're going to continue to have people telling us there's a parking problem because they want to park at the front door of where they work. We know that is the main problem, that it's employee parking, that it's the major problem driving the perceived parking problem. You know, so it would be really cool if we could enforce the laws that we have and designate employee parking and begin to create a culture where employees park away from the front door of where they work.
Well, it might be interesting to take a look at, you know, what just doing enforcement would cost the city, or would it be revenue neutral or whatever. But that would be interesting to see, because I mean, obviously we're watching every penny.
I really don't like the idea of paying for parking spaces that we designate as free at all.
I was going to say that it makes business sense to charge for parking that we have to pay for.
Yeah, if we got to pay for it.
We have to rent parking lots for people to be able to park. It makes business sense to me to have an income stream to offset that, as well as the added bonus of enforcing parking restrictions.
But the parking meters came and the parking meters went in the 80s.
Yep.
I don't want to be there again.
Well, no one's going to saw off any meters.
Well, and I also don't want to limit how long somebody that came here from out of town to come eat, and they eat at a crowded restaurant, which is awesome, that it takes a little bit longer, and then they don't go shopping across the street because they're running away to get back in their car. Or if they're shopping and then they decide to eat, and then they go, nope, it's an hour wait, I'm leaving. So they skipped the dinner or some lunch or whatever. So I don't know. Do you have a lot to do? I'm sorry.
It's okay.
And we've got 2 weeks. And
You've got 2 weeks.
And so
I have
do we.
3. It's a 5 Monday month.
So do we. Yeah.
Yeah, 3 weeks.
So, so we're definitely, obviously in 2 weeks, we're going to put a bow on this one way or another. But in the meantime, does anyone want to make a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve ordinance 2024-02, an ordinance of the City Council for the City of Salida, Colorado, approving the management agreement with Interstate Parking Management on first reading and setting a public hearing for February 6, 2024.
Second.
So a motion from Councilmember Nacarado, seconded by Councilmember Pappenfort. The motion is to approve ordinance 2024-02, an ordinance of the City Council for the City of Salida, Colorado, approving the management agreement with Interstate Parking Management on first reading and setting a public hearing for February 6, 2024. Further discussion?
Stevens,
Yes.
Casper,
Yes.
yes,
Just for
Fontana,
the first step.
Yes.
Nacarado,
Yes.
Pappenfort.
Yes.
The motion passed.
And next up is ordinance 2024-03, an ordinance of the City Council for the City of Salida, Colorado, amending Section 4-6-10 of the Salida Municipal Code to modify the short-term rental tax rate, first reading and setting a public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before you is an ordinance to change the short-term rental tax rate. Background information shows you the elections that were held in both November of 2022 and November of 2023, setting the current structure and confirming the current structure of a $1,000 annual tax on permits and imposing a nightly rate of $15 per bedroom or sleeping area per night. These funds are being utilized in our affordable housing fund. Approximately $717,000 has been collected in the first 3 quarters of 2023. We will know fourth quarter at the end of this month. Staff has identified 3 different projects that the funds would be used for, particularly leveraging grant dollars. Post-election discussions generated interest from some members of council to reduce the per room per night tax only, but leaving the $1,000 permit fee or permit tax in place. Staff has estimated that revenues from the proposed change would generate approximately $707,000 annually, a reduction of approximately $174,000 from the current structure. 2 council members requested this ordinance be drafted. It's therefore before you for your discussion and consideration. If a council member so decides, a suggested motion is before you. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great. Questions?
Okay, I have a question. We can lower taxes. If we lower the tax to 10 from 15 and the voters approve 15, can we go back to 15?
Not without a vote of the people.
That's what I thought.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
So whatever's approved is
final.
Well, you can always, you can lower a tax without going to the vote. You just can't raise it. Yeah.
But you heard what I was saying,
Yes.
though. They approved this, but when we did something like that with the lodging tax, it was built in.
Yeah.
You know, that it was going to start at this level and go up to that level
Right.
over an unspecified amount of time.
Yeah.
And so the $1,000 is the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems to me that, so you wrote in here, the current rate structure collected $717,356 in the dollars in the first 3 quarters of 2023. It seems to me like we might actually exceed what we had projected for that income for this year. So great job, staff, in that prediction, but
Yeah,
am
we'll
I
have a
correct?
better idea at the end of this month, but I think we're going to be very close, and it is possible that we exceed that. And, you know, I will need advice from council on what to do at that point. But I think to exceed Tabor, the way that it's worded, it's an increase over previous amounts. So we were estimating an increase of, is the number 800,000 for the
Yes.
short-term rental? So that would be an increase over what we had collected the year previously. If we go over that, then we have a Tabor issue. Okay, but we're going to be very close.
But my point being that we're not seeing any drop off in short-term rental fees from what we predicted they would be at by implementing this fee.
It's hard to say that with certainty because the rates have gone up. It would be great if we had number of bookings. That would be the way to tell for sure, which unfortunately our MuniRev software does not capture that. But it does not appear that we have a decline in revenue.
This is not linear math. It is obvious that at some point, depending how high the daily fees are, the short-term rental bookings will go down. And the specifics that I'm interested in is the connection to sales tax. Seeing businesses wonder about how the business is holding up, I think it would be wise to approve this this decrease of those daily fees in service of benefiting our sales tax.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that 10 is a more fair rate, especially since we cannot single out the bedrooms that are occupied because of past history. That the only thing that we can do is lower that fee. And so I think that we should pass the $10 over the 15.
And I would say, I mean, I agree. When we were having this conversation in the lead up to the election, and I've definitely gotten emails from people who have said to me, why are you contemplating reducing it? We voted in favor. But I've gone back to some of those people, and what I've shared is how many people I spoke to prior to the election who had heard we had had meetings on this. We were entertaining the notion of coming down somewhat on the fee, and that influenced their decision to vote against 300. So I respect where everybody else is coming from, but that has influenced some of my thinking. So, and chances are I probably won't vote, but I just wanted to say that I would support that too.
So obviously STRs are a huge complicated issue because you want to make sure that people are still coming to town, people can still afford it with the tax that is placed on there. Nobody wants to negatively impact tourism. And so I don't know, I think that there have not been long-term studies done on the STRs and how the tax rate affected them. I know this has come to vote twice. I know I did some research on the STRs, kind of what is coming down from the state, and I think there's some tax stuff coming down that way. So I know we have the $1,000 tax. We're talking about reducing the room tax to $10 per night. I also don't want to tax these people out of business because if the state comes down with tax, that's something else that has to be placed on them. And that, I mean, I don't know what that number is yet. I know it's coming because there's a ton of research out there. If you go to anything with the Colorado legislature. So, I mean, I think it needs to be lowered for sure. It's just we're going to have to maybe revisit it when the state stuff does come because that money will go to them. None of that will come to us. And I don't think any of that stays with the STR owners either. I think all the money that's going to be taxed that they're going to place on it will go to the state. So you can't have state taxing and then our city taxes, those people will just go away, or you'll have houses empty, or our STR market will go away at some point.
And I hear what you're saying. And I mean, the whole thought process behind the $1,000 was the difference between what people pay, and it's not even making up the difference between commercial and residential. If that changes, then, you know, we meet every 2 weeks and we have that conversation. But, you know, and there's a good chance it does pass, but, you know, when does it take effect, all these different things, and you know, until, we'll revisit it at that time. That's the way I look at it. I don't know if other people feel similarly, but.
Right, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think I'd be willing to revisit it at that time. Right now, I think it's not the time to lower the fee. I really want to honor the vote of the people twice and not make guesses about what the vote would have been if something wasn't being considered. The people voted twice on these fees as they are, and knowing now that it can't be brought back up should we need it, that funding is urgently needed for grant matches and large projects, and that money is working for us now with these projects, and I'd like for it to continue doing so to address the housing crisis.
Anything else? Obviously, this is also just a first reading.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve ordinance 2024-03, an ordinance of the City Council for the City of Salida, Colorado, amending Section 4610 of the Salida Municipal Code to modify the short-term rental tax rate on first reading and setting a public hearing for February 6, 2024.
Second.
So we have a motion from Councilmember Casper, seconded by Councilmember Pappenfort. The motion is to approve ordinance 2024-03, an ordinance of the City Council for the City of Salida, Colorado, amending Section 4-6-10 of the Salida Municipal Code to modify the short-term rental tax rate on first reading and setting a public hearing for February 6, 2024. Further discussion?
Nacarado?
No.
Fontana?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Pappenfort?
Yes.
Casper?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay. And that brings us to council reports, and we'll start with Councilmember Fontana.
So I just wanted to say thanks to Aaron. I know tomorrow's your last day.
Technically Friday.
Friday's your last day. Thank you for doing what you do. I didn't get to work with you long, but congratulations.
Thank you.
On your decision. I hope you are off to do good things. So I just wanted to say thank you for doing what you've done for us. And I'm sure for everybody up here, way longer than myself.
Thank you.
Yes, so I appreciate that. And then we did have a lot of downtown businesses speak tonight that I did not talk to. I did reach out to and talk to over 50 of them at least, and personally to each owner. So I do, I'm hoping that they will reach out to me. I'd like to extend it. I did write their names down, so maybe I can give them a call on the F Street. But every single business is valuable down there, and I know as a council, we want to keep every business down there thriving, doing the best they can. They provide jobs, they provide a service in our community, and every single one of them is valuable. So I know the decision is not going to make everybody happy, but we want everybody to, you know, stay there and thrive in their business, and we're trying to do the best we can for them downtown and on the highway, because everybody needs it here. That's all I have.
Thanks. Councilmember Casper.
Yeah, in the work session, I basically I stated how I have a preference for places to come together and hang out, and but I kind of realized that the passion about the F Street Mall had changed a little bit. Well, The appearance of the number of businesses tonight that showed up certainly changed my attitude towards it. So I would be in favor of having the mall again and doing what we were advised to do, give a longer commitment to businesses, that they can really utilize it better. That's all for tonight.
Okay, Councilmember Nacarado.
I was able to attend the Chaffey County Economic Development Corporation annual meeting this afternoon, and there was a great panel of speakers, some elected officials and some business representatives, and of course the main topic that was discussed was workforce housing and how critical that is to our county's economic development, as well as just some discussion around collaboration, the need to collaborate between government and business community, and even when we disagree, to have those strong relationships so that we can have fruitful discussions, and that disagreement is sometimes itself what produces that fruitful discussion if it can be done in a respectful way. So one of those areas of disagreement is density, and that came up quite a bit. And I just wanted to kind of make a public announcement for businesses that if you're not interacting with the Chaffey County Economic Development Corporation, your business should be, because they are speaking on behalf of businesses and what businesses need. But along those lines, in talking about respectful discussion, I just wanted to say thank you to all the businesses that presented tonight or spoke tonight about the F Street closure. I really appreciate how nice everybody was that spoke and solutions oriented. And it's definitely tearing at my heart to make this decision, as I knew it would be when we had a hard time making this decision last year. But I just feel like we just don't have it together right now to continue doing the F Street closure, and we need to pause and figure it out, figure out our parking, figure out our access, our equitable access for people, and figure out safety as well. And I also wanted to say best of luck to Aaron, and thank you for all you've done for the city of Salida. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Papenfort.
Yes, thank you, Aaron. You've been a real inspiration and a joy to work with, so I'm very sad to see you go.
Thank you.
I'm also, very sad about the F Street closure. I hope that we can bring it back next year. I hope that we can get the bump outs and all of that work done, and then move into a 5-year plan where we can gradually increase it. Because I believe that there is a huge passion for it. We certainly saw that tonight. We saw that businesses are very concerned about the speed, the different speed that will be in effect when it's open to cars again. And so we'll continue to work on that. That's all I have.
Thanks. Councilmember Stevens.
Just to speak on the F Street closure, when I first walked in today, I was kind of definitely on the fence. I didn't know really which way to go. I was definitely for maybe taking the year off, but then of course after everybody speaking to it today that came in, definitely kind of changed my thoughts on it a little bit, or a lot actually. So I like the downtown closure. I have children that I like to go down and spend time shopping and at the restaurants and watching the kids be able to play in there. But I think I like the 5-year plan. We don't need to jump into it all at once. It is very expensive to get everything up to what people want to see. So I think the 5-year plan is definitely a good way to move forward on this. Just doing a little bit at a time to get there in a longer path than all at once in a short path. So yeah, it's I'd definitely I'd like to see it come back myself, but yeah, it's just so. But on that note, yeah, just thanks for everything, and that's about all I got.
First off, Aaron, thank you. It's been just a joy to work with you. I'm sorry to see you go, and I'm happy and excited, though, for the next chapter of your life. So we really, really appreciate everything you've done. Thank you. And then, in regards to the F Street closure, I mean, I knew coming in how difficult this was going to be. I mean, this is clearly not a subject where there's any consensus whatsoever. But, I would just encourage people, I mean, let's say at the next meeting, you had 10 speakers of people that were adamantly against the closure. We had that number tonight. We could very well, at the next meeting, get the same. So I think it's just important to keep that in mind, that no matter what decision we make on this, there's going to be people that are unhappy. I mean, I recall a year or two ago, I had a guy who left me a phone message, anonymously, accusing me of getting kickbacks, and that's what was paying for my condominium downtown. Clearly very much against the closure. So, I mean, we do have the ADA issues, the equity issues. I mean, I still feel like a reset is reasonable. I mean, we've done this now for 4 years. I would be really curious to see. We saw such an explosion in sales taxes post-COVID. It'd be really interesting to see, I mean, how much of that was just the fact that people weren't getting on airplanes, traveling internationally and other places. But we won't know that unless we take a reset. I mean, I heard what everyone said. I love the fact that they were so respectful and civil. But it's one of the hardest aspects of sitting up here is making or thinking about and contemplating making decisions, and then having people, bring up some really good points. I mean, there are no easy answers here. And I would just ask people to just keep in mind, what would you do and how would it influence the way you thought if at the next meeting there were 10 or 20 people who gave all these compelling reasons against, because that could very well happen. So I just want people to keep that in mind, and I'll get off my soapbox. Treasurer report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I'm really happy to report that the November sales tax collections increased by about $6,600 or 0.9% as compared to November of 2022. The city's portion of the Chaffey County sales tax collections also increased to almost $12,000, or about a 5% increase over November of 2022. In total, the sales tax receipts are 2% higher for October and 1.1% higher year-to-date. Actual collections are ahead of budget by 0.7 year-to-date, so we've kind of turned the corner there. We had 3 months of decline, so it's nice to see that the sales tax has changed its trend. Budget versus actual on the general fund, we're looking really good. Thanks to Amy for doing some corrections. It's now showing that the general fund is in a good surplus. So, and that's it for my treasurer's report.
Thank you. Anything from our attorney this evening?
Jeff, we can't hear you.
I guess no report. And for
Nothing tonight? Okay. Staff?
No, thank you.
Okay. All that remains would be a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Have a good night, everybody.